Okay, next thing I'd like to show you is how to make a trigger. A trigger is an action that's kicked off when we either add or delete or update a record in a table, and then the trigger would automatically kick off. You would use it perhaps for error checking, or maybe you want to update another table when one table gets updated. So let's do an example of a trigger. Now, triggers happen at the table level. So if I expand this table, notice how we have a category that's called trigger. And right now I don't have any, as we can see. I'm going to right click on that. Now, one way you can do it is you can pick on new trigger this way, and then you would fill in the code as necessary. You would fill in the code here. But I have an example already for you. So I'm going to close that window. And in this case, I'm going to pick on File, Open, File. And we have one here that says Create Trigger. During the lab, notice how there was also one that's called File, Open, and then File. Notice how there was another one that's called Create Trigger, Update Date. You can run that one too as a second trigger. And that one is in the book for the class. Look what this one's doing. It's going to use the class 1 manual database. The trigger name is going to be check dates. Now, see where it says if exist, select star from inserted. That means it's going to run on any of the added or any of the updated records. And it'll run, as you can see, after the insert and after the update. It's going to select all of the records that have been either added or updated. And we're looking to see if there's any records whose required date is less than the order date. That really shouldn't happen, but let's say somebody made a data entry mistake, and should that happen, we're going to put an error on the screen that says required date must be after the order date, and then see where it says rollback. That means it won't save that transaction. So let's go ahead and execute this. When we execute it, you can see it completes successfully. Now, you didn't really see anything happen, but if we right-click on the triggers this time and pick on refresh, then we will see the one that's called check dates. I'm going to close this window over here for the code. Now, the only way to run the trigger is actually to update the table. So I'm going to right-click on the table and then pick on Edit Top 200. Notice now we can add a new record or change an existing record. Notice our order date is from August 4th of 1998, and the required date is from September 9th of 1998. Now, it'll let me change the date maybe to a later date. I'm going to put in September 5th, and notice how it lets me do that, not a problem. But this time, let's change the required date to a date that's prior to the order date. So I'm actually going to just change the required date, let's say, to 1997. That would certainly be before the order date. So now when I try to click to a different record, notice how it's going to come up and the trigger was able to work here. It says no row was updated, the data in row 2 was not committed, and then it gives me my error message that we put in the trigger, required date must be after order date. So you can see that runs every time we update the table, and in fact it worked properly because it didn't let us update that record. And you use the triggers for maybe to update other tables, or perhaps to do error checking, anything like that. And that's what a trigger is all about. I'm going to click on OK here. Really, it's not letting me save this, so I'm going to hit the escape key, and it rolled the transaction back. Now we'll save it, and now we should be fine.